Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we'll be studying the chapter The Inchcape Rock by Robert Southey. Quick information about the poet. Robert Southey was born on 12th August 1774 in Bristol, United Kingdom. He died on 21st March in 1843 in London, UK. His occupations were poet, historian, biographer and an essayist. He had two spouses, Edith Fricker and Caroline Anne Bowles. His literary movement, he belonged to Romanticism. Poems, The Inchcape Rock, Thalaba the Destroyer, After Blenheim, Curse of Kehama, Madoc, Roderick the Last of Goths, Joan of Arc. Some information about The Inchcape Rock. The Inchcape Rock is a 17-stanza ballad by Robert Southey. It was published in 1802. The story is of 14th century. The Inchcape Rock is a sandstone reef which is 11 miles, that is 18 kilometers off the east coast of Scotland. The rhyme scheme of this poem is AABB. Let's start with the explanation of the poem, The Inchcape Rock. No stir in the air, no stir in the sea. The ship was as still as she could be. Her sails from heaven received no motion. Her keel was steady in the ocean. In this paragraph, the first line means that the air and the sea were very calm. The second one is a personification in which the poet is personifying the ship as a human, saying she. Her sails from heaven received no motion. In this word sail is the canvas which is tied to ships to receive air. Her keel was steady in the ocean. The keel is the bottom part of the boat or a ship which is submerged in water, and it was as steady as a ship could be. Without either sign or sound of their shock, the waves flowed over the Inchcape Rock. So little they rose, so little they fell. They did not move the Inchcape Bell. In the first line, the poet tells us how the waves and the sea was behaving. The waves were very soft and smooth. In the second line, it tells us that the waves flowed over the Inchcape Rock, that is, it submerged the rock. In the third and the fourth line, that is, so little they rose, so little they fell, they did not move the Inchcape Bell. It tells us that the movement of the waves was so less and it was not at all sharp, and it did not move the Inchcape Bell, that is, it was not sufficient enough to disturb the sea. The abbot of Aberbrothock had placed the bell on the Inchcape Rock. On a buoy in the storm it floated and swung, and over the waves its warning rung. The abbot means the head of a monastery. So the head of Aberbrothock, it's a place, had placed the bell on the Inchcape Rock. So he, that is abbot of Aberbrothock, was the one who had placed that bell. On a buoy in the storm it floated and swung, and over the waves its warning rung. Here buoy is a float or an air-filled piece to keep the bell afloat so that it does not sink. So it was attached to this buoy, and its warning rung whenever there was a storm and the waves used to disturb the sea. Fourth stanza. When the rock was hid by the surge's swell, the mariners heard the warning bell, and then they knew the perilous rock and blessed the abbot of Aberbrothock. In the first line, it's telling us that whenever the rock was hit by the surge's swell, here the surge's swell is the high tide or the waves, the mariners heard the warning bell. Mariners here are the sailors. So whenever the rock was hit and there was a storm, they heard the warning bell, that is by the Inchcape Bell. And then they knew the perilous rock and blessed the abbot of Aberbrothock. Here perilous means dangerous. So whenever there was a storm and the rock wasn't seen, it used to be dangerous because the ships would crash and many people would lose their life. So it was perilous, dangerous, and blessed the abbot of Aberbrothock. They blessed him because of his good deed and because he saved their life. The sun in the heaven was shining gay. All things were joyful on that day. The seabirds screamed as they wheeled round, and there was joyance in their sound. Here the poet is telling us that the day was very bright and all the things and everybody was very joyful on that day. Even the sea birds, as they screamed and they, played in circles, they were screaming, they were cheerful and happy. Next stanza. The boy of the Inchcape Bell was seen, a darker speck on the ocean green. Sir Ralph the rover walked his deck and fixed his eye on the darker speck. Boy, as we told you, is a float, and the float was looking a darker color on the green ocean water. Sir Ralph the rover walked his deck. Here, deck is the ship, that is the floor of the ship. There is a new entry of a character here. It's Sir Ralph the rover. Rover is a sea pirate, and his name is Sir Ralph. So this sea pirate, he walked his deck or his ship, and he fixed his eye on the darker speck. Here the darker speck is the buoy or the float of the Inchcape Bell. He felt the cheering power of spring, it made him whistle, it made him sing. His heart was mirthful to excess, but the rover's mirth was wickedness. In this stanza, the poet tells us how was the rover or the sea pirate feeling. He was feeling very cheerful and happy. He was so happy that he was whistling and singing. His heart was happy to excess or merry to excess, but his happiness or merriment was wickedness or a bad deed. Next stanza. His eye was on the Inchcape float. Quoth he, my men put out the boat, and row me to the Inchcape rock, and I'll plague the abbot of Aberbrothock. His eye was on the Inchcape float, meaning his eye was on the buoy. So the buoy was the thing to which the bell was attached to. Quoth he, that means he told to his fellow sailors or pirates, my men put out the boat and row me to the Inchcape rock, and I'll destroy the abbot of Aberbrothock. Here he tells his fellow sailors that asks them to put down the boat, and then he asks them to row him to the Inchcape rock, and he says, I'll plague the abbot of Aberbrothock. By plague he means destroy the good deeds of Aberbrothock. The boat is lowered, the boatmen row, and to the Inchcape rock they go. Sir Ralph bent over from the boat, and he cut the bell from the Inchcape float. The boat is put into the sea, and the boatmen row him to the Inchcape rock. Then he bends from his boat to the Inchcape float, and he cuts the bell from that float. So now no one would get the indication that the bell or the rock was situated there. After the above paragraph, the first day ends, and now the poet is describing a scene of a day after many days. Sir Ralph the rover sailed away, he scoured the seas for many a day, and now grown rich with plundered store, he steers his course for Scotland's shore. So once the rover had cut the Inchcape bell from the buoy, he sailed away, he went away and scoured, that is, roamed the seas for many days, and now grown rich with plundered store. Plundered store is the looted wealth. He was a pirate, he used to loot other ships, other people. And after he had grown rich with all that looted wealth, he steers his course for Scotland's shore. He steers his course for Scotland's shore, that means his next destination would be Scotland's shore. Down sank the bell with a gurgling sound, the bubbles rose and burst around. Quoth Sir Ralph, the next who comes to the rock won't bless the abbot of Aberbrothock. Down sank the bell with a gurgling sound. Here gurgling is a bubbling sound. So whenever we put something into water and it sinks in the water, it makes a bubbling sound. And the bubbles that were caused due to the drowning of the bell came on the surface and burst. Then Sir Ralph said, the next person who comes near this rock or to this rock won't bless the abbot of Aberbrothock, because then they would have no indication that the rock was there and would surely crash with the rock. So thick a haze overspread the sky, they cannot see the sun on high. The wind hath blown a gale all day, at evening it hath died away. In this stanza, the poet is telling us about the weather of the second day, or the day which he is describing next. Thick a haze means thick clouds. So after a storm, there were thick clouds on the sky or in the sky. So due to those clouds, they were not able to see the sun. The wind had blown a gale all day. At evening it had died away. The whole day the wind was very strong, but at evening it was very calm, or it was very still. Moving to the next stanza. On the deck the rover takes a stand, so dark it is they see no land. Quoth Sir Ralph, it'll be lighter soon, for there is a dawn of the rising moon. In this stanza the poet is telling us what the scene on the ship is. The scene is such that the rover is standing on his ship and looking outside, and he sees that there is no land to be seen and it's so dark. Then he tells his fellow men, consoles them, saying that it will be lighter soon, for there is a dawn of the rising moon. By dawn of the rising moon, he means that when the moon will rise, there will be light everywhere. We will be able to see what's going on. In the next stanza, it says, canst hear, said one, the breakers roar. For me thinks we should be near the shore. Now where we are I cannot tell, but I wish we could hear the Inchcape bell. Here there is a conversation going on the ship. One person says that he can't hear what the breakers roaring. Breakers are the white waves that are on the beach or on the shore. You see them hitting the shore and moving back. They are the breakers. Now where we are, next person says that now where we are I cannot tell. I cannot tell that where are we, where exactly what our location is. But I wish we could hear the Inchcape bell, because the Inchcape bell would have at least warned them about if the Inchcape rock is nearby, or they would crash with the rock. Next stanza. They hear no sound, the swell is strong. Though the wind hath fallen, they drift along, till the vessel strikes with a shivering shock. Oh Christ, it's the Inchcape rock. In this stanza, he's just describing what the present moment is. It's like they are not hearing any sound, but the waves are really strong, they're very violent. And even though there was no wind there, but they were still moving along the waves. And then all of a sudden, the ship, or here the vessel is the ship. So the ship strikes or crashes with a rock or something, and then they realize that it's a Inchcape rock. Oh Christ, it's the Inchcape rock. That is a shock. Next stanza, the second last stanza. Sir Ralph the rover tore his hair and cursed himself in despair. The waves rushed in on every side. The ship was sinking beneath the tide. So the Sir Ralph the rover, the pirate, he was very sad, and he was very, he was feeling sorry that he did such a bad deed, that if the bell was there, they could at least have got warning that they were near the Inchcape rock and they could have changed their direction. But it was because of his own bad deed that he was dying today. So he started cursing himself in his sadness, in his despair, in his grief. Then the waves rushed in on every side. Now that the ship or the vessel had crashed, the waves were rushing in the sense they were getting inside the ship on every side. And it's obvious that if there is water on the ship is going to sink. The ship was sinking beneath the tide. Last stanza. But even in his dying fear, one dreadful sound could the rover hear, a sound as if with the Inchcape bell, the devil below was ringing his knell. So even while the rover was dying, even while the pirate was dying, he could hear one very dreadful sound. Dreadful in the sense dangerous, scary sound. And the sound was like as if with the Inchcape bell. When he had cut off the Inchcape bell, there was a gurgling sound. So he could imagine another sound with it, and it was the devil below. Devil here is the death. So devil here is the death. As though the devil below, death below was ringing his knell. Now knell are the, knell is the funeral sound. Funeral bell. Yeah, so as if with the Inchcape rock, his funeral bells were also ringing there. So guys, if you liked the video and found this information helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more updates from this channel, and surely comment if you want to suggest any other chapters for me to explain. Thank you.